Welcome back to the channel. This is Gillis TV here right on Clemhawks. And before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button as Clemhawks, Yak City Gaming, and I bring you the sports world of rumors, anything that's happened in NHL, NBA, MLB, and pretty soon the NFL. As today we finally had some news of trades that the Calgary Flames had been offered, and this was reported by a bunch of people. The one was apparently Jack Eichel was on the market to get traded, so Vegas could take a shot at him. Go check that video out if you haven't. A couple more trade pieces that came through was St. Louis had one and Carolina had one, and for Tkachuk, he probably would have liked to go home too, as St. Louis was one of the teams he wanted. Same with Florida. Go home, play for his dad's old team. But that just wasn't the case, as the rumored trade was Vladimir Tarasenko, Marco Scandella, and a high draft pick. The high draft pick, I'm not too sure if it was first or second. That was not reported. That was the first trade rumor from after the trade that came out, was those guys in a draft pick, and Calgary ultimately said no. And you know what? I'm not a GM or anything, but I would have said no to this as well. As Marco Scandella is 32 years old. Uh, Pretty good shutdown defenseman. Don't get me wrong. Guy's been a shutdown defenseman his whole career. He's a +7 over his career. A pretty good second, third line guy. You weren't getting a top line in Marco Scandella for Matthew Tkachuk there. You look at Tarasenko too, 30 years old, so Huberdeau's a bit younger. Guy had 60 points or 82 points in 75 games this year. Pretty good score, 34 goals, 48 assists, was a +7. When it came playoffs, he had 9 points in 12 games. Career-wise, he has 60 and 90, 41 goals, only 19 assists in the playoffs. Guy's a goal scorer in the playoffs. But then again, you compare him to Jonathan Huberdeau. Tarasenko's a bit older, didn't produce as good as Huberdeau did, and I believe the pick wasn't enough for the Calgary Flames to actually pull the trigger on this deal before Florida did. And then your next deal was Carolina. They didn't post the whole deal, but one of the players involved in it was Martin Necas, which, 23 years old, that's a good prospect to get for Tkachuk. He plays on Carolina's, I believe it's third line, fourth line, or third or second line, if I'm not mistaken. He had 40 points in 78 games this year, +5. Career-wise, he has 119 and 203. Doesn't live up to the Huberdeau Tkachuk numbers that they had, but given what other pieces might have been, for a 23-year-old Martin Necas, would have been a good deal, like I said, depending on the other pieces. But ultimately, I believe Calgary took the better deal out of the three that is reported right now. Who knows if more is going to be reported. I heard that apparently Tampa was in there as well at a point. They just didn't get as far as these teams did in the talks. But it is what it is. Calgary traded Tkachuk to the Panthers, and that was probably the best trade on the board. Everyone has to notice that. But the only difference is between these three guys and the two guys they got is these guys have contracts left. Huberdeau, Weegar don't. We'll see what happens with that. As of right now, Calgary won that trade, but we'll see in a year's time if those two guys are still there, or if maybe Florida won the trade. You guys stay frosty out there. Have a good one.